Peace, Knicks family. We are back with another episode of the crossover. I'm Tony Crow from Knicks and Bruises,
And I'm Stephanie from Dope Soul Sports Talk and the Queen's Court.
and like I said, this is the
This is the
crossover.
crossover.
Um, Peace Queen. It's
Peace.
been over a week, I think, since we've done the
I think
crossover.
two. I think we missed 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah,
You enjoyed the vacation.
absolutely.
I enjoyed the time off. And
Hmm.
you know, you did your show what yesterday? Well,
Yesterday,
Queens Court you did
Monday.
Monday.
Yep,
Dope Soul Sports Talk you did Tuesday.
yep,
I was on Monday, but it's a pleasure to be back with you for the crossover.
always. And congrats to you, but I'll let you.
Oh, hey, let's all right. We'll start right there. Thank you, thank you. I finally hit my 1,000 subscribers. Thank you, chat. Um, and I'm gonna have a whole show dedicated to you guys. To be honest, coming soon. And then a whole nother show for the chat. I'll have my giveaway with the John Starks jersey, but I couldn't have done it without the chat. I couldn't have done it without the support from you, Queen, Sim,
Appreciate
Eru, Freezy, Ron, John, Jose,
you. Hmm.
um, Savvy. You know what I mean? Like the list goes on and on.
Hmm.
Divine. Um, thank you guys, man. I woke up to it, so today was a great day, a long day, but a great day. But
Hmm.
I'm ready to get it going. Crossover, your blackest time. That's right. Appreciate you guys. Um, Today we're gonna talk about who's under the most pressure. What Nick is under the most pressure. I'm definitely looking for from input from the chat because when I say Nick, it doesn't have to be a player. So you know what I mean. I know a lot of you guys have been weighing heavy on Tibbs and ready to put the hammer down on Tibbs. Some people think it's some Randall, RJ, whoever. You know what I mean. Some people think the front office dropped the ball, Queen. You know, you know what I mean. So maybe it's the front office. Maybe it's Leon Rose.
Hmm.
But yeah, we try to figure out some new content and new topics every day. So I think this was a good one. And I can start, you can start. We could look in the chat.
Yeah,
Definitely
either way.
appreciate all the congratulations as well. Like I said, I couldn't have done it without you guys.
That's a tough question because I think there's a lot of players and coaching staff and front office, in my opinion, under a lot of pressure, though Dolan is the only one that would know if the front office is under pressure, right?
Good point.
Um, the most pressure for next season.
And let's not even restrict it to one. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Let's maybe you'll give a top three, I'll give a top three. And we'll see where we agree or disagree.
Right. My top three would be Randall, RJ, Tibbs.
Mm.
Those would be my top three. Yeah.
All right. All right. We'll get into details in a second.
Hmm.
Um, is that one, two, three, or that's just your top three, and we'll figure out an order
Just
later?
yeah, top three in order, a- and Tibbs, like for me, not really, but I know the fans
Fans. Okay, fair enough.
think that for me it would, and then I can say my dark horse would be Grimes with no fault of his own,
Mm,
just in
mm.
terms of the Knicks, the way they treated him in these negotiations.
That's nice. That's nice. Okay. Well, before I give my top three, I'll give a dark horse as well.
Mhm.
Let me ask you because I'm surprised that you didn't mention either the front office or Leon Rose in particular. Coming off, what we,
Yeah,
the last two shows we did, mine and the Queen's Court. Um, so my question would be specifically, or let me just say that why aren't they on your top three with a dark horse, or I again, I know we had no
Right.
we didn't talk about this beforehand.
Yep. No,
I
we
mean,
did.
we didn't get to think about it. So I know this is right off the top of your head, but
Because I
it did
think
surprise me.
because I think there's nothing they can really do in this season coming up. Like if you want to say the next off season, yeah. But I mean, if there was any issues with what they did, it would have came right off of this, this off season. The only well, let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase that. Because if the Knicks get off to a poor start, if RJ is not playing well, if no one is really taking leaps, um, then yeah, I could see them. I could see them being on the hot seat. It really depends on where Dolan is with this, and it's hard to believe that they didn't talk to him about it and he didn't sign off on not going all in on Donovan Mitchell. So they may
Oh,
not be on the hot seat. Um, but this season coming, but I don't think as far as their contract being renewed, I think this is their going into their third. I don't think that's a slam dunk. Yeah.
okay, fair enough. Um, damn, I got another question for you before I
Okay.
go.
Okay.
Um, because you put Tibbs on the hot seat, but he has the 5 years. They have three. If I'm correct on by what you just said, like they're up for renewal more before he is.
Are they? Are they on the same timeline?
Oh, I thought I thought that was what you just said that
I think they're going into year three, right? I think
well
everybody is going into year three.
yeah, Leon had the half a year before Tibbs even got here.
Mhm.
So but I don't know. I don't know the math. I just thought that that was what you said. Like he's under, like he's up for renewal.
No, the
Um.
front office, I think in the next 2 years.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah,
that would be the same timeline.
right.
Then my apologies. Um. Okay. Let me give my top three. And again, I came up with the topic, but I didn't I didn't research it. It was just me saying, hey, we could go a bunch of different directions.
We can,
So
we
the
can.
my top three was again Randall probably being um one on the list. Uh, my two would be Brunson and then RJ. Um, but because we both have RJ and we both have Randall on the list, I'm gonna start with Brunson
Mhm,
and give my reason why
mhm,
on him. And I mean, number one, the contract. And when I say the contract, it has nothing to do with my feelings on the contract.
mhm,
You know what I mean? Like
mhm,
whether we overpaid or under or didn't overpay.
mhm,
Um, his own words from his own interview with JJ Redick podcast.
mhm.
He was looking for 55 and pretty much doubled up, or he was looking for 50 and pretty much doubled up.
Right.
So even his contract wasn't even in the realm of possibility or expectation for
Mhm,
him a year ago, or even 6 months ago, or 8 months ago. So you know what I mean? Like I
mhm,
feel like me hearing that out of his own mouth, and
mhm,
it being admitted publicly for all to see, Knicks fans, Dallas fans,
mhm,
front offices, whatever the case. Um, yeah, you gotta live up to that, my man. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not putting pressure on him because I feel like he's gonna put that pressure on himself,
mhm,
knowing I went from looking for a $50 million deal to getting 107, 110, whatever it ended up being.
right.
Um, yeah, I think there's pressure on him from himself to
Mhm,
live up to it. Um, I don't think he's a slouch. I think he's a worker, a workhorse.
mhm,
So I think he's gonna try to even if his mindset is not, oh, I gotta live up to 110, his mindset is, I want to be the best I could be. I want to be a champion. I'm a winner. Like he has all those things in his mindset. So there's no way he comes into the season comfortable because he got paid. I,
Right, right.
you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
that's why he's on my list. And so I just wanted to start with Brunson because that was the difference.
I will
Um,
add to that that I think he's under a lot of pressure from the fans as well. I mean, there's a lot of us who liked the signing and thought that him being what the 13th, 14th highest point guard in the league was right. That wasn't a reach. But there's a good part of the fan base. I don't know if it's most of the fan base who felt like he was overpaid. So if he gets off to a bad start, if we get off to a bad start, he might take a lot of heat. So I think from the fans as well, there may be some pressure now, and he'll feel it. Now, what how he deals with it, that's something totally different. What I've learned about this fan base is nobody is really safe. You could be turned on in a minute, right? So I think that's a part of it. And I think that also the pressure to show that you can be a point guard in the NBA. You can be a starting point guard in the NBA without a caliber of player next to you like a Luca, right? What can you do in a situation like that? And that's where he is. So I think there's some pressures. Is he a starting NBA guard without, yeah, playing next to a superstar, really? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, all valid points, all valid points. And if you will, chat. I see what 155 in the chat. Um, give me you guys' list, your top three of who is under the most pressure, and that could be again the front office, that could be the coach, that could be any particular player or players that you guys think. And I think we're gonna open up the chat at some point as well. So you know what I mean, you guys can come in and give your takes. I guess when we let you in, we'll narrow it down to one, so just in case we got people waiting. But
Mm.
yeah, definitely want to get you guys' input as well. Um, Randall, do you want to start with Randall? Or you want to start with RJ?
Oh, it don't matter. It don't matter.
Randall, I think
Let's start with
Randall was my number one,
okay.
like most
And
pressure.
he was my number one as well.
So we'll jump right into that.
Okay.
Uh, oh man, I mean, do we even gotta speak about it? You know what I mean? Like it's so obvious. Excuse me, one second. Pardon me.
Mm-hmm.
It's so obvious. Like the reasons coming. I mean, bad year last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, bad bad move with the gesture to the fans.
Mm-hmm.
Um, can he recover from that? Let alone can he recover from the bad play? You know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
The inconsistencies, the bad shooting. Um, Sim points it out all the time. This was statistically his worst year since
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, rookie year or second year, but either way, he's never shot this bad before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, can he adjust to RJ progressing? Can he adjust to the addition of Brunson? Um, some would question whether that was an issue for him last year. Was it an adjustment issue to the new additions?
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know if we could even pinpoint what went wrong.
And if all of it was basketball related, or if something was going on in his personal life as well, or a combination of both.
Yeah, it's so many question marks.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I personally still believe in him because I you know what I mean. Again, I know you say it's more than just numbers, but there's something that should be said for a guy having such a bad year. But if you just look at the numbers, it's still up there with like borderline elite. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can say the same thing about RJ. It's just that we talk about RJ's efficiency. A lot of fans want to push that under the rug and talk about he averaged 20 points. When it comes to Randall, 20, 10, and 5, no, 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 no. Let's push that under the rug. He was inefficient. you know?
And yeah, that's the. I think, to be honest, I'm glad you said that, because for we're gonna just combine them right now because of it, because that's the biggest thing for both of them.
Hmm.
Efficiency. I think that's what turned Randall into most improved. That's what turned Randall into All NBA. His efficiency numbers, again, similar to this year, where you could say this year was an anomaly. You could say the year before was an anomaly in the other direction. You know what I mean? He's never shot that well prior to. He's never shot this bad prior to. So again, if he could get somewhere in the middle, I think that would be a
Hmm.
a, a successful season for him.
Yeah.
And,
Uh,
and RJ, same thing, efficiency. If he can be efficient at the three and efficient at finishing, and both of them free throw line, I mean, the it's gonna be a world of difference, numbers wise, and I think for winning.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it does make a difference. And shout out to Pudge Nice, always rocking with us here on MBK. Dope Soul, I appreciate you. But he said that RJ is a kid. Here we go with the kid thing, and then he's only 21. But the fact of the matter is, Randall has had one inefficient season. RJ's been inefficient 2 of the 3 years that he's been in the league, and his overall stats for 3 years is inefficient. Randall's overall stats are not. So listen, I'm not both of them need to get better this season. I'm just pointing out how somebody can have a bad year and is blown up, and somebody can have inefficient numbers for the entire time they was in the league and is shopped under the rug because he's young. The bottom line is both of them have to be better next season. Period.
And Randall has the biggest adjustment to make than anybody coming in,
Right.
or anybody coming into the season. So he has a bigger adjustment to make than Brunson does. He has a bigger adjustment to make than RJ does. Like, Brunson has the benefit of coming in saying, "You guys brought me here to be who I am, or better, right? Be who I've shown to be, or better." RJ has the benefit of, I'm continuing to grow to become who I'm gonna become. Like, I
Mhm,
I don't know who I'm gonna become yet. You guys don't know who I'm gonna become. Like, it's a process.
mhm,
Randall has to adjust to these guys more than they have to adjust to him.
mhm,
And this is coming off of 2 years ago being most improved, being all NBA,
mhm.
being the guy, where we don't know if he's still the guy or not. We don't know if,
I don't
like,
think he is. I mean,
I
I don't
mean, I'm talking about for this team.
know for this
I
team too.
I mean, you don't think he is. I don't. I'm gonna say I'm not sure, but to take it a step further, I don't know if he's sure. You know what I mean? I don't know if he's sure, or if it's been relayed to him. I don't know if Tibbs is sure.
Mhm,
You know what I mean? Like,
mhm,
it's tough to say Brunson's here to be the guy.
mhm.
That may be the case, and I'm not mad if it is. But I'm saying that's a tough decision to make if you're the coach, to say, all right, we're bringing in this guy based off what we've seen, whether it's his career last year, whatever. Like, he's the guy, because I don't think that's definitive. And then, if you believe that as the coach, I think it's a tough adjustment, or pill to swallow, whichever way you want to look at it, for a guy like Randall to say, I got it. Okay, I guess starting from a fresh board, and it's a new coaching experience. It's a new learning experience. It's you know what I mean. I
Hmm.
think he just has the biggest adjustment to make, but he also is under the most pressure to accept whatever position it is he ends up falling in or being in. He
I
may
mean,
still have that mindset. I'm the number one. We we don't know
yeah,
that.
that's true. That's true.
And is that, if he does have that mindset, is that wrong? Is that bad? You know what I mean? Like,
It's not bad to have the mindset. It's just how does that play itself out, right? You can have the mindset that you're the number one, but what does that mean? Does that mean that you're going to take shots not in the flow of the offense? Does that mean that you're going to put up bad shots? Does that mean you're not going to share the ball? So you can have that mindset, but there's a certain way you need to play when you're on the court with other players who are talented as well. And I think that's going to tell the story. I think, in terms of the pressure, you can argue that he's not under pressure monetary wise as far as his contract that's solidified. I think, and he's not under pressure in terms of staying in the NBA. I think he's done enough that he'll be on some team. I think the pressure is if he wants to remain in New York.
mm,
That's the pressure that
talk
he's
so.
under. He has to show that, you know, that his game, that he's more involved, he's more engaged, he's playing both sides of the ball, and he's locked in mentally.
Mm.
If he values staying in New York, I think that's the pressure.
You preaching right now, Queen.
Yeah.
You preaching right now, because that, I mean, even that goes beyond basketball now. It goes beyond what he does on the floor.
Hmm.
Not like, because if I, I mean, part of me feels like if he wants to remain here, then somehow it has to be rectified with the fan base, which um I'm not one of the guys that hate him. You know what I mean? I'm not one of the guys that say, "Oh, we got to move him. He's a detriment by all costs." You know what I mean? Add a first round pick move. Like, you know what I mean? I want to be logical in all of my thoughts, but there's people I feel like I don't know if there's any coming back.
Right. Yeah.
um
Yeah. Yeah. I think the
and
pressure is for him to. The pressure for Randall was to be here past the deadline.
mm,
He might not make it past the deadline if he doesn't show that he meshes with this roster. If he doesn't show a lot of things, he may not make it past the deadline. That's the pressure to make it
Qu-
past the deadline.
Queen, Queen. I mean, but what you said prior to is if he wants to be here,
If he
because
wants to
to
be
be
here.
honest, he may play excellent and not make it past the deadline. He may play excellent and that be the reason why he don't make it past the deadline, because it seems like
Yeah.
the Knicks have shopped him
Mhm.
or seen what the interest
Mhm.
is, and it hasn't been high. So
Right.
so
Right.
like he may play so good that he still will, like that. That's the reason he doesn't make it past the deadline, because he's playing so well. His value has improved,
Shut up. And the Knicks take the opportunity to get off of that salary. Though I will say, without Donovan Mitchell's salary here, is that a bigger, as pressing a matter as he would have been having four players at 100 million,
mm.
right? With him not being here, it's Brunson, RJ, Randall. I don't know if there's a as big a push to get him off the roster for financial reasons.
See, I was never big on the financial reasons, because my thought process was, to me personally, if we're talking about like whether it's free agency or trade,
Hmm.
I'm leaning towards the trade always. I think trade is the way to go. We've seen what happened in free agency with us. Not
Yeah.
two consecutive years, but two consecutive times where we had the cap space,
Hmm.
and arguably the number one guy was available. You know what I mean? So I'm not big on that route.
Yeah.
Like, to me, more things have to be in line. Like, now you got to find. I mean, I guess no matter what, you got to find a guy that wants to be here. But with the trade, you get a guy here and convince him to stay. I'd rather go that route than having the space and hoping the
right,
guy wants to be here.
right. And you have to have a decent team is part of, him
The guy
coming,
want, yeah,
wanting
him
to come.
wanting to be here. Yeah, absolutely. So I think more things have to be in line to get the free agent
Right.
than it does to make off the do the trade, get the guy here, and then convince him. You know what I mean? So again, so that's why I was never a fan of, or I never had the mindset of, oh, Donovan Mitchell. We bring Donovan Mitchell in, we got to move Randall. No, we just got to figure it out. Randall might not be the guy to go. It might be one of the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it
like
depends. Let it play itself out. That's what I
exact.
was saying before. On paper, it looks clunky, and I've said that on paper it looks clunky. However, I would still bring them in the training camp to see, because Chicago didn't look like it was going to be a good fit when they brought in DeMar DeRozan and Levine, and I said it.
Mhm.
And prior to the injuries, they were balling. So you never know.
Great, great point. Great point.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, and I never was against the trade because of the clunkiness or you
Yeah.
know what I mean. It was just a talking point that I felt like you can't ignore completely.
Right.
You know what I mean, or an acknowledgement that, all right, we do that, but we still have things we got to figure out. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Right. Right.
um, I guess we could move right into RJ.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it's tough to even say he's under a lot of pressure, right? For me,
Not for
like
me.
he could have been my honorable mention. To be honest, I could have threw Cam in there before him. I could have threw Obi in there before him.
Really?
Um, yes,
Yeah. That
yes,
they have more to prove
no, just under the pressure,
under pressure. Okay. Under pressure.
under
Who's
pressure.
under the most pressure? Okay. Okay.
But I'm gonna tell you why he could have been my arguable, well, you know what I mean, my arguable mention, if you will. And I've mentioned this a few times when we've talked about RJ and his extension prior to him getting his extension.
Mhm.
I want to say I was the only one that said 120, and I got killed for it by multiple people because he's not gonna take 120. You know what I mean? And it ends up being 120 with incentive,
It's
right?
even less, right? Because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's incentivized.
Like,
I think it
eh,
was you or somebody. I don't know. Andy was. I don't know if it was Andy talking about an incentivized contract as
well,
well.
no,
From about
I mentioned starting at 120 with incentive
with incent.
to
Okay.
go higher.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And it ends up being a even better deal than that. You know what I mean? In my opinion. So I mean, he accepted that. Obviously, he's okay with that. So money's not a thing. You're paid now. You know what I mean? You got a deal
Right.
that you was happy with.
Hmm.
So again, his pressure is like Brunson's in the sense where I feel like it's more internal than external. You know what I mean? It's more of him just wanting to prove to himself, prove really to himself who he is. He is who he thinks he is. He can be who he feels he can become. You know what I mean? So it's even hard for me to say the pressure is on him, or even if he feels the pressure externally, because I feel like he feels more love than hate, if you will, from the fan base. From, you know what I mean? Like, he feels the love more than he feels the hate. It's not that much hate for
Hmm.
RJ out there. You know what I mean? It's more questions than anything else. And we know he's a worker. You know, like we know he works on things
Hmm.
from a game to game basis to off season basis, etc., etc. So it's hard for me to say there's a lot of pressure on him externally. It's more internal, his own pressure that he puts on himself. And that's why I kind of feel like I should have put him in an honorable mention and threw somebody else above him. But I'm gonna let you talk about RJ, and then maybe I'll add in a Obi or a Cam or somebody else as why I feel like maybe they should have. I should have put them higher than RJ.
There is a large part of the fan base that believes RJ can be a franchise player. There's a large part of the fan base who believed we didn't need Donovan Mitchell because we have RJ Barrett and he's just a year or two away. So, yeah, there's pressure on RJ Barrett to prove that he's not a role player. There's pressure on RJ Barrett to prove that if he's not a number one, he can at least be a number two. That's pressure. And to me, obviously, I think the pressure would have been more had they signed him to a max. There would have been more pressure to prove that he deserved that. But even though the Knicks signed him for really, I mean, an excellent, excellent, excellent contract, the pressure is still there to prove that he's not a role player. I mean, that's something that as a fan base we've been um, um, split on. You know, is he just a very good starter or is he a star? And I don't think because they signed him to a $120 million contract that that pressure is off. No, I still want to see. So I think the pressure is on him to take the next step next season and to be more efficient, to be able to hit his threes, to be able to finish at the basket. Because if the Knicks are going to go to the Knicks have a chance to finish 8 through 10. You know, I mean, listen, if a lot happens, they can finish even higher than that. But that just looking at the roster, they can finish 8 through 10. But RJ or a few other players are going to have to pop. And if you paid RJ money for an extension, last year you did the same thing for Randall, then yeah, those guys need to play because you paid them to lead the team.
Do you think? Do you think? Do you think there's more pressure on RJ internally from himself or externally from the fans? And
From the
then and then
fans.
and then all right, my next question would be how much of the external pressure, the pressure from the fans, do you think he actually feels as opposed to
He may not feel it right now, but the fan base can turn in an instant.
that
He
that
may not feel it right now,
well
but
you
it,
you're 100% right.
it can heat up real quick in the
But
garden.
I'll say this right now, and we've talked about this probably a year ago.
Mhm.
Um, he still has that shield. He still has that bulletproof vest in Julius Randle. So as long as Randle is here, ain't the fan base is not turning on RJ. Like he would have to pull his pants down and moon the fans as as opposed to putting the thumbs down to
It's not even that they're gonna turn on him. Pressure from the fans to be the player that they're expecting him to be. Pressure from the front office that they signed you to a contract because they believe you're gonna be more than you are right now. So yeah, I think there's pressure both internally and externally.
yeah. I just think he doesn't. I think he has the pressure on himself.
He may not feel it, but just
Is
because
what
you
I'm
don't
saying.
feel it doesn't
I
mean
don't
it's
think
not
he. I
there.
don't think he. I mean, I disagree with that though. I feel like if you don't feel it, it's not there. I, I
So
think
if for some reason over the summer Randall got his mental together and he didn't feel any pressure because he's been meditating and he's been swimming and he's been running in the mountains and so he's really woosah
then I think
and
we
he
get
don't
the best
feel
Randall.
but hold up and he don't feel any pressure. Does that mean there isn't any pressure because he doesn't feel it?
Yes,
Wow. Okay.
yes.
I think we just see that different.
Because think about it like this. It's like social media. It's like the YouTube chat, right? It's like any platform that you have. If you don't look at comments at all, you won't see any negative comments. So you won't feel the effect that you feel when you see those comments. So that's what I'm saying. If he doesn't, if he's locked in to the point where he don't even see the crowd, and we're getting the best Randall that we could possibly get. And it's funny because it just popped into my head because a lot of people reference Randall playing so well because of the lack of crowd, because of
Hmm.
the you know what I mean. So, but that's what I mean. If you're locked in, it don't matter what the crowd is doing. It don't matter what's going on in the YouTube chat. It don't matter what's going on from the media because that doesn't affect you. So yeah, if you don't feel that, then there is no pressure. The only pressure that you could feel would be from yourself.
Okay, so maybe we talking about different types of pressure. It sounds like you're
Okay.
talking about the actual experience, physical symptoms of feeling pressure.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm
Okay, I'm
referring
talking
to.
about pressure in terms of expectations.
Oh
Whether you
no, no.
feel that, so when you say who's under the most pressure, that's how I'm interpreting the question in terms of
Okay.
expectation.
Okay.
And that expectation doesn't go away from the fans, from the front office who paid you or what have you, just because you feel calm. You know what I
So
mean?
so
So
so let me
I'm
ask you this.
we're seeing it. Mhm.
What happens when a fan's expectation, or I I guess even a coach's expectation. I mean, and it's definitely gonna be a different answer for each one. But what happens when other people's expectation exceed your own?
I think that if you're at a point where you can't feel it, I think you can negotiate it better. So I guess we're using two different words. When you say pressure, I'm thinking expectations. And I think you're using it a different way. I think that's the disconnect. Yeah, I think that's the disconnect. I'm thinking of something different. I'm thinking
So
expectations.
because like if I was to say the pressure got to Randall, I'm not saying the expectation got to him. I'm literally talking about the pressure, like the fans, the pressure, um, maybe his own external, um, what he expects of himself. I guess that would be expectation, but you know what I mean, like
Even for the fans to even for the fans to get riled up and start giving them heat,
because they expect
it's
more.
because that they have an expectation. But I get what you're saying. I was reading it. I was reading it wrong.
Fair enough. Um, man, I kind of lost my
Yeah,
whole
no,
train
no,
of
no.
thought.
I mean, because if you're saying it like that, then it's just a matter of becoming internally peaceful.
Hmm.
And if
I
you
mean,
become internally peaceful, there is no pressure because no matter what happens, you like Tick Not Han. You know,
but
you
but that's what I got from Brunson in his JJ Redick interview, because I think in some way, shape, or form he was asked about that, like the
right,
pressure of New York or the pressure of signing this big contract, and similar to what he said, it don't matter what goes on, like what the anybody else thinks,
right. I
says, feel.
got
You know what I mean?
right.
Like
But that
and
doesn't take away that expectation. But he's just found a way to negotiate it and navigate it internally by just staying calm, not plugging into that, and so when he does that, he's able to perform. He's not allowing it to get to him. But in terms of expectations, it's still there.
But and that's why I leaned on with RJ and Brunson. I feel like that expectation comes from within, and the outside noise doesn't affect them. And I could be wrong, and I'm not speculating.
I think you're
I
right.
can't say that about Randall.
No, I think you're right.
You know what I mean?
I think you're right, but the expectations is there for all three of those players. They have internal expectations and there's external expectations for all three of them. It's just that two of them are at a point mentally, emotionally, in terms of their game, where that outside expectation doesn't bother them. And
Hmm.
one person that can't seem to handle it.
And because yeah, I mean, there could be a player whose expectation for themselves may be greater than the
Absolutely.
expectation from the coach, may
Mhm,
be greater than the
mhm,
expectation from us as got people watching
mhm,
or podcasters talking about it.
mhm.
So it's what what happens when that's the case? You know what I mean? Like, I think you mentioned Grimes as your honorable. I'm gonna
Yeah,
let you
yeah, yeah. But I was
you was
not
talking
any
you
fault
was
of his own. I just
yeah,
think that
but I'll let you elaborate.
yeah, I just think for me, just hearing that the Knicks were willing to put RJ Barrett in a trade, but drew the line at Grimes. Like, okay, we're gonna give you Barrett, but we can't give you Barrett and Grimes like they on equal footing. I couldn't quite get that, but clearly the Knicks see him. For them to take that stand, they see him as somebody that's going they see a higher trajectory than I do. And listen, they've been seeing him every day, right? Practicing, or what have you. So they really hyped about him. So for me, I'm like, okay, you were a sticking point in the Donovan Mitchell trade. He might have been the only one, but you were one of the sticking points. Yeah. There's an expectation now that you come out and show why you were that sticking point. Now that's external. For him, I don't think he feels I don't think he feels any of that. I don't think he's coming into the season like, oh, they didn't trade, they didn't get Donovan Mitchell because of me. I got to ball out. I don't think that's his mindset at all.
I mean, I don't know if it didn't creep in there. And again, it may not be a pressure in a bad thing. You know what I mean? It may not be the pressure that becomes a detriment. You know what I mean? Like 'cause sometimes like pressure busts pipes, but pressure makes diamonds, right?
Mhm.
So it's really regardless of what the pressure is, it ends up boiling down to the player anyway, right? Like
Right.
either you gonna be a pipe or you gonna be some coal that turns into a diamond. But it's all about how you react to it, how you
Hmm.
taking the pressure. Um, oh man, my mind's all over the place. I lost my train of thought again.
No, no.
I had something. I had something
Did
good
you
to
mention
say
all
though.
three of your players?
Um.
I said Tibbs as well.
Okay. Well, I mean, I figured, and you know what? Let me throw the link in the chat. I figured there was gonna be there was gonna be some people in the chat who said Tibbs. I was sure honestly you was gonna throw Leon Rose in there somewhere
Oh,
shape or form, but
yeah. I mean, I do think the front office is under pressure. I don't know if it's this year. I just think overall they're under pressure, especially after. I mean, listen, hearing you out, hearing a few other people out. I'm sure they talk to Dolan. I'm sure Dolan signed off on not, um, you know,
for
not going all out or drawing a line at some point. I'm sure Dolan signed off on
I'll
that.
take it even further. Maybe he just decided I'm gonna continue to stay out of basketball operations. Yeah, I mean, like forget signing off, but I'm just gonna give you guys the power that I hired you to have.
Mhm,
You know what I mean? Like I could only imagine what the talk would be
mhm,
if it comes out one way or the other.
mhm.
He signed off, or had we got him and Dolan forced it. Dolan, you know what I mean? Like because we don't need that. In my opinion, personally,
Right.
we
Yeah.
yeah we don't need that. I see Pudge Knight says Leon failed front office and Tibbs are under pressure. Jump in, man. I think I put the link in, right? I
You
put
did
the
put the link.
Yeah,
Put it
jump on and give your take. I do feel like Leon Rose and Tibbs are a package. I feel like if one has to go, they all gotta go.
You think that you don't think that they would fire Tibbs and still remain in the front office?
I don't.
Oh wow. Okay.
I don't. Now, yeah, I don't. I think I don't even think if Leon was under pressure from Dolan and he knew it was like, oh, if I don't throw Tibbs under the bus, I'm gonna lose my job. I think Leon Rose would take the firing
Mm-hmm.
before firing Tibbs,
Mm-hmm.
unless he felt Tibbs deserved it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's some other guys who were in our front office previously that I wouldn't. You know what I mean? I felt like they would have done whatever they had to do to keep their job, throw whomever under the bus, whether they believed it or not, just to save their job. I don't think Leon would do that. I think if it, I don't think he would fire Tibbs to save his own job. I think he would only fire Tibbs. You muted. I'm sorry. He would only fire Tibbs if he felt like Tibbs underachieved.
Correct. That's what I mean. That's
Okay.
what I mean. That's what I mean. Like if he
Well,
just felt like, he's not our guy anymore. We're going in a different direction, or we just don't like what he's doing. So that's why I don't know if it's a package deal in terms of them living together.
and if the timeline is the same, firing even let's say he fired Tibbs right now, it doesn't help him. It doesn't relieve pressure from him. If anything, all it does is say, "All right, bring in your next coach," and now you're under more pressure. You know what I mean? Like, so that's why I feel like it's almost like a packaged timeline, where
Well,
so
this
so
I
if
think it's
if
a
you fire Tibbs, that means okay, that's only buying you a year. You know what I'm saying? And how much are you going to improve in a year under a new coach? And I'm not saying you're not. You could. We don't know. Some people believe it. Some
right,
people believe Mark Jackson would change everything. Some people believe the former Nets coach would change everything.
right.
Um so
But let me just say this, and before we let um someone in the
Tony
chat in,
NY.
in order to fire Tibbs, you got to get ownership approval because the ownership is going to still have to pay him the rest of his contract, even if he's not there.
That's a
And
good
so I
point.
can see ownership saying no, because there's only 1 year left. I got to evaluate whether y'all going to be here.
Good
you
point.
know, so I'm not letting y'all fire him, and I'm not sure. I put it this way: if Tibbs is fired and Leon Rose has a year left on his contract, he's getting an extension because there's no way an owner is going to allow you to fire a coach and then you got 1 year left, and then the next year you out the door, and now whoever they bring in may not like this coach that you hired just a year ago, right? So I think the owner would have a lot to um, do with that.
Good point, Queen. All right, we're gonna start with Tony NY to Florida podcast. Um,
Give everybody a few minutes, and then
welcome.
Hey, how
Appreciate
you
you
doing?
joining.
good. How are
Can
you?
Um,
you? I'm good. Can you guys hear me okay?
we
Yep.
hear you. We hear you great. Let me
Awesome.
start off. Let me start off by saying two things. If you are a subscriber to Knicks and Bruises, I appreciate you. If not, go ahead and go subscribe. But the
100%.
second thing is Dope Soul Sports Talk. Now the goal, you know what I mean? I mean, it's always been the goal, but now the goal is to get her to 1,000.
I'm close to. Well, I'm
And I,
220
I
away,
know, I
something like
know,
that.
How are
I
you
know.
not 1,000, Queen? Are you kidding me?
I'm not 1,000. I'm not 1,000. I'm like
So,
770 or
All the bars that you drop? Come on.
so not only you, but the chat. You know, Dope Soul Sports Talk. Please go subscribe. Let's get the whole NBK fam on the playing field that we trying to get to, and build the whole nothing but Knicks network to
yeah.
where it
I'm
needs
gonna
to
I'm
be.
gonna drop the link now. I'm at 788.
Appreciate it.
Oh,
Floor is yours, my brother. Introduce yourself. You in Florida now? I'm assuming.
yeah, I'm in Florida. I've been on before on the phone with you guys with Sim now. I'm the guy that says he used to live in Harlem, but now he's trapped in Florida.
Appreciate you jumping in the link.
I fell through a hole and it landed here. Um, First, can I just say I watched the show yesterday, Queen, and you were right on point. I don't know what they were seeing. I'm not going to take you back, but everything you said about Mitchell and everything you said about Obi, about Mitch, 100% right. I don't know. People just
Uh-oh,
don't.
uh-oh, uh-oh.
Yeah,
It's Tony.
I just leave it at that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get on the show, but I can't stand when someone is spitting pure facts and people are like, "No, I swat it away. I don't want to hear any facts." No, no. We'll give Ob the minutes that don't exist. Yeah, we'll get them out there. It's just okay.
Right. I said he deserves more minutes. I just don't see the path forward.
Yeah, like
If a roster is constructed.
I was surprised that someone didn't suggest that they went to Stern and said, "Could you add extra minutes so Obi could play more?" Like it's just not enough minutes. you know. But I digress. When you asked the question about three players who were on the hot seat, or three members of the organization,
Mhm.
I would go with Brunson, RJ, and Randall. But I'm going to say Brunson's going to get a full year of goodwill, saying no matter what he does, he could dribble a ball off his foot. They're going to be like he meant to do that. So, he's good. He's good. But this RJ thing, I am so tired of hearing people say he is just a kid. I have a 21-year-old son, and he is no longer a kid. All right. I get that, he's one of our players and we want to just welcome him in, but he has to be more efficient. It's no way to get around that. And we would talk about in the chat about empty points. If it's taking this many shots to get to that point, then those are empty points. And what's happening is the Knicks are losing because of those possessions that you're just giving away because you want to give the ball to RJ. I'm not saying he shouldn't see the floor more. I'm not saying he shouldn't get shots, but he has to take good shots, open shots. And then last season, some of the shots were open. And he was just missing. He was just missing. So let's begin to hold him accountable. Like, okay, like you got your 120 million with the incentives and so on and so forth. No more rocking RJ to sleep. It's gonna be okay.
Right.
It's time to like put his feet to the fire.
Oh, you sounding like Uncle Fulio now and holding him accountable.
I never agree with him. I never agree with Uncle Fulio. Because he sees it come like way out of left field. Like he gives me those Howard Stern feels. Like I'm just gonna say something inflammatory to see what happens. And as far as like Julius is concerned, like yes,
before you go real quick, is RJ 1 and Julius 2, and then Brunson 3?
RJ is one because of all the goodwill that we've given him over the last 3 years. That's the only reason why he's one. Because now you got to cash that in. You got to look at the fans the next press day and say, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna shoot better shots, shoot a little bit less, get a little closer to the rim. I've worked on these things this summer," and then he's got to come. He's got to show improve. I don't expect the Knicks to go beyond the first round, and I'm only saying the first round because I'm a Knicks fan. If I was looking at them objectively, if I was looking from another team, I probably wouldn't say they would even make the playoffs. But I'm a Knicks fan, so I'm always going to say they're going to make the playoffs. So he's definitely number one, and he's going to get most of the possessions. You know what I'm saying? I think that Julius is definitely going to take a step back, and I think Brunson's going to be looking to feed him. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, as far as Julius is concerned, that is an odd duck. He's got 4 years on his contract, and I'm going to say something crazy, and people are probably going to start throwing tomatoes.
Hey, you got a couple already, my brother. I was gonna wait. I was gonna wait.
Just one at a time.
It's not as much as Josh. But it's so good, bro.
As the Knick fan, because he is so emotional, we are going to have to be better fans with Julius. We are literally going to have to sit in the stands, and when the guy next to us is about to flip him the bird or freak out, do something disgusting, we're going to say, "We want to win tonight. You got to stop." He's beginning to cry. which you can. I'm gonna take responsibility for Julius. I'm gonna rock him to bed like we've been doing RJ and be like, listen, everything's gonna be okay. Just hit the next shot. Don't pay attention to the dude with the wine in his hand. He's drunk. You know what I'm saying? Because someone in the chat was like, oh, Julius has some things going on at home, personal stuff. We are the personal stuff.
Mm.
Have you ever seen a star how to treat it? So I worked in the city as a paramedic for 20 years, and I used to run into people that were like, let's say stars, but they were celebrities, and people talk so much junk to them on the street. You would think they was family. We are Julius's issue. So if you ain't got nothing nice to say to him, just let him buy his pizza and go home. Don't say nothing to him while he's on the line. You know what I'm saying? Because we all want to win.
Yeah. If you don't have nothing positive to say, don't say anything, huh?
Says, so how many tomatoes? How many tomatoes can I make ketchup?
You have a fruit stand.
Then there you go, trying to take responsibility for those damn Knicks fans again. How dare you?
Oh boy.
My bad. My bad. I was muted. Yeah, you got a lot of tomatoes, but I appreciate your take.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate the angle you came from. I'm not gonna agree with it per se as far as the coddling, but that it definitely made my eyebrow go up because I've been wanting to say that fans have been too hard on Randall. So I understand exactly where you're coming from, but I'm not gonna come out and tell people how to act or react because I know it's a lost cause.
No,
Like
I think you can.
they gotta do that on their own,
No, I
and
think you
hopefully
can.
winning will change it.
You can be hard on Randall in your house. Yell at the TV.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you
On a
go pay to
podcast.
see, if you want to go see a Knicks game and you sitting there with your friend, talk smack to your friend. Stop trying to get down there on the floor and get in his face. You know what I'm saying? I'm not giving anybody a plug, but you ever seen that Netflix show where they talk about the Rumble at the Palace where all those guys came down and got into a fight with all of them? Like, that is a bad fan. And if you're up in the stands thinking to yourself, I want to punch Randall in the face, you're a bad fan. Those ideas lead to bad behavior. So there's enough people to talk to without having to always be on Randall. Like, when he's happy, he's having a decent season. I want to win. I want to win.
Yeah.
All right, Tony. Appreciate you.
Yeah, definitely appreciate you.
Now you gotta go in the chat and talk to these.
Drink my ketchup and talk to these savages.
But definitely appreciate you coming on, man.
All right, thanks a lot for having me.
All right.
Salute.
All right.
Who we got up next?
Worldwide West.
Uh-oh. He be making moves out there, Mr. Worldwide West.
What's going on, y'all? What's going on? It's been a minute since I've been on.
Appreciate you joining. Welcome to the crossover.
Man. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I love to see how y'all branched out. You know what I mean? You and Queen doing your thing. I love the combination, the chemistry. It's just it's a dope development. I like how Sim allowed everybody to branch off underneath this network. I'm a day one supporter. You know what I mean? I tell everybody on the streets about you guys and another show that I particularly like. I'm not going to mention. You know what I mean? But it's like, if you're a Knick fan, if you're a Knick fan and you're not a nothing but Knick subscriber, then you're doing yourself a disservice because you have to get involved in the conversation further than the media, the mainstream media's narrative of the nonsense that they spew. You know what I mean? So that's why it's a godsend that all of these social media platforms have taken off within the past couple of years, because that's the element I was missing as a Knicks fan. You know what I mean? Like,
you too.
When Tibbs was like, you got to watch the game more than once, bro. I've been getting made fun of since I want to say like ninth grade, because I tape all the VCRs. I would tape all the games and watch them 2 or 3 times during the summer when there's no basketball. I'm watching the games 2 or 3 times. So it's the Knicks being so bad that led to my knowledge of the game of basketball. Because I'm like, I had to start looking at the fine points of the game. You know what I mean? The intricacies. And I played ball myself. I
Mhm.
played, Division 1 basketball. So all of that coming into play is going to kind of lead to where my sentiments are going to go with these comments I want to make. You know what
I'm
I mean?
loving it
Because
already.
thank you. Because like this is how I look at the current regime of the Knicks. Like they're not doing a bad job, definitely not. But we need a regime that is going to do a good job. Because the only way that we're going to get out of this 20-year rut is having a GM president who's not afraid to make moves. You know what I mean, and puts things on the line. And what I kind of understand now, if I'm looking at Leon Rose's tenure, the way fans are looking at it is like, all right, we were, no disrespect, but we were dating a woman who was very promiscuous, right? And now all of a sudden we're dating somebody who just, once in a while steps out, and we're content with that. But that's, we need more than that. We need loyalty. And I feel like when you evaluate the moves that Leon Rose has made, you really look at it. I know no GM is perfect, but passing up or getting Jokic over that boy who plays for the Grizzlies, trading away a lot of these first round picks to push back further drafts, when subsequently you're seeing that if you're looking to nab a big star, those protected first round picks don't weigh as heavily as a lottery prospect, right? So if we would have drafted Obagi like Sim was wanted us to, like some of you guys had mentioned, that would have been a trade chip that we could have used in place of, let's say, Grimes, Obi, or Quickly, right?
Mhm.
If we had retained the first round pick that we traded for Cam because of dysfunction in the organization and lack of communication, we could have had another asset that they may have wanted. Also, you know what I mean? It's just like, and we did it 2 drafts in a row. We've given up pieces. We drafted Jokic over Desmond Bain because we don't want to collect too many players on their rookie contract. When if you're looking to make a trade, you know what I mean, you really want to collect as much as possible. That's what the Lakers did when they was able to get Anthony Davis, and they still had Kyle Kuzma and some young guys still to go along with Anthony Davis and LeBron. And it's just like, I'm not trying to be too critical of Leon. I'm not saying he's doing a bad job, but he hasn't excelled. You look at the his signature signing thus far, to me, is the Jalen Brunson signing. Well, Jalen Brunson, maybe this is why they brought him here, Leon Rose, because of his connections, but Jalen Brunson's his godson. Jalen, and I mean, the writing was on the wall that he kind of was gonna be the one target that's going to get here. And to get him, we had to tamper. Like we had to go to Dallas and put a bad taste in
Right.
both Dallas and Utah's mouth, because we're going to need to think about potential trades in the future. And we can't go around creating negative relationships with other organizations, right? We seem like we had a good relationship with Dallas because we made several trades with them over the past several years, right? I don't foresee us making any more trades with Dallas, right? Especially with Mark Cuban. He holds grudges. So was it absolutely necessary to go sit courtside at a playoff game and bring the entire staff to look at Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson when it ultimately rubbed you the wrong way, rubbed the teams the wrong way, and came back to maybe bite us in the butt? I don't know if that was the best decision. Another issue that I have with Leon Rose is that, all right, when you speak to Sam Presti and when you speak to other general managers of these rebuilding bad organizations, and you say, hey, what's the plan? They give you a clear cut explanation of what their plan is, right? And I think one of the reasons why Leon Rose is avoiding, media interviews is because he doesn't want to definitively say this is the plan, because he doesn't then want the fans to hold him to the fire. He's kind of being ambiguous because in one hand he's obtaining young talent, for the future, and on the other hand he's getting all these veterans, and he's playing these veterans at the detriment of the young talent. Now, this is something I didn't agree with Steph on a recent podcast she was watching.
Mhm.
You were saying something along the lines of, we can't just gift players minutes. They have to earn their minutes, and that's absolutely right. But at a certain point, when the player has earned his minutes. Like Obi has earned his minutes. He's earned the right to be a starter on this particular team, assuming Julius wasn't there, right?
Yeah, that's different.
Right.
He
I
hasn't
mean, that's
played.
that.
Randall out of here, and that's the difference.
And even in his great play, I'm sorry to cut in,
No.
but even in his good to borderline great play, it's been with Randall not in the scenery. So to Queen's point, he hasn't outplayed Randall to the point where he leapfrogged him. He played well in his absence. Like for a player to be great, especially a young player, he has to he has to beat the guy ahead of him. It's one thing to play well when the guy's out, injured, sitting, resting, whatever the case. But if you can't do that with the guy there, and I know there's an argument against it with Tibbs, but even that argument, it states that it's never really been Obi was playing well and he got sacked. That might have happened twice. Most of the time is Obi made a mistake and got sacked.
Okay. Well, I'm going to respond by saying if you look at the blueprint of good organizations, they don't put young players in that position to necessarily have to beat out a veteran because a rookie or a second year player, just because of his lack of experience, is probably not going to beat out a veteran on the floor. And let's look at the blueprint of great organizations like the Golden State Warriors. Monte Ellis was a multiple year All Star. They drafted Steph Curry. They didn't say, Steph Curry, you have to beat out Monte Ellis. They said, let's not create a dynamic where Steph Curry is looking over his shoulder. Let's open up the court to this guy. They traded him. This past draft, the Houston Rockets, they immediately traded Christian Wood when they knew they were landing a top 3 pick because they were going to pick up a big man. Okay, they wanted to clear that out. They're not going to make that guy who they drafted try and beat out Christian Wood. The same thing happened with John Morant when he was drafted. They traded away
Mike
what
Conley.
Mike Conley
But it
and good
depends.
organization.
I don't think it's about good organizations. It's about the
Okay,
organization having their direction set. The Knicks don't
even
have
better
their
stated.
direction set. If you have your direction set that you're going young, that starts at the top. Like everybody's talking about Tibbs shouldn't be putting Obi above Randall. No. When you look at Houston, you look at OKC, you look at all these organizations, the front office trades off those players because they've made an organizational decision that they are going to go young, right? Which is similar to what you're saying. Some organizations make a different decision. We're going with our best players. We're going to bring in young talent. We're going to bring them up slowly. And as they get better, we'll move off of the vets. There's many ways to do it to go in an organization. The Knicks decided to go in that direction, right?
And if I add, I
Mhm,
think Curry might be the, because I mentioned
mhm,
the Curry Monty Ellis thing before, as the rare occasion. I actually might have said the only occasion where a guy was definitively a better player, and they moved on from the better player to let the young guy become who he's going to become. um but most of the time that happens, because even with Ellis, I think you could argue that Ellis was still in his prime. But these other examples, these guys are not in their prime no more. Mike Conley wasn't in his prime no more. You could go back to Kobe Bryant and Eddie Jones. Eddie Jones was not in his prime no more. He might he
Eddie Jones was still in his prime. Eddie
no
Jones
no
made the
no
All Star team that current year.
no. Yeah, but he was at the end of his, at the end of his prime. What did he do after that?
He got
You know what I
injured
mean?
though.
He was past his prime, bro. He was past his prime.
I'll give you
He
that. I'll give you that.
like his greater years were behind him.
We're behind him. Okay,
You know what I mean? Conley's
right.
greater years were behind him. So these are different situations. Um,
But we're talking about All Stars.
in the Obi Randall situation, even with that, whether you want him going, want him to stay, whatever, Randall's not past his prime. You know what I mean? He's entering his prime. Obi still has a gross growing to do to even become his prime, and he's closer to that than some of the other younger guys. You know what I mean? Like, remember, he coming in as a 24-year-old rookie. So the expectation for
Who
Obi,
did not play well his first year. He didn't
it,
even look like he belonged. Like I was like,
He
yes,
didn't. No, absolutely did
NBA
not.
no,
NBA ready was what we were supposed to be getting.
And Kevin
And
Knox actually should have been in a rotation over Obi his rookie
no
season.
doubt
But
about. But where West, let me ask you this question:
what's up?
What's Obi's skill set?
Okay, I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to preface it by saying his skill set correlates with how the team functions as a unit. Okay, he's one of those glue players, so to speak, right? And he doesn't necessarily. He's not a one-on-one player. He's not going to beat you one-on-one off the post, off the dribble, off the face-up. He's pretty much a slasher and a cutter and a dunker from a four standpoint. So, what was the question you asked me? What's his skill set?
Yeah, I mean, you basically answered the question.
Right. His skill set is, a backdoor cutter, a pick and roll player. I think that Tibbs is completely using him wrong and has been using him wrong for the past 2 seasons. And I don't know if that's because he usually plays with Jericho Sims or he's been playing with that no hand guy, um, because he's become a pick and pop player, and he's not a pick and pop player. You know what I mean? Like his numbers don't show he shoots the three well, and he was ferocious going to the basket. He makes things happen going to the basket. The guy needs to be involved in a pick and roll a lot more, and if he functioned properly in the way that his offense is structured individually, right, then he would excel. He would excel more. Now,
I
what's
agree with
Randall's
that.
role?
No,
Randall,
hold on, hold on,
okay,
hold on. And I agree with you. But this is where I think a lot, and you said it perfectly in terms of Obi and one. So there's two things with Obi: his skill set, and then how he fits with the team. To me, if you want to argue that he's a better fit, we can have that argument. But you're not going to tell me that he's a better player than Randall. Because when you talk about skill set, his skill set is limited. As you just said, he's a slasher. He runs to the back. He's not a catch and shoot guy. He's not somebody who's going to stretch the defense. He's not somebody that you can put in the post. That's not his game. So this is why I don't quite understand when you telling me I need to move off a guy. Now, and I've said this before, aside from Obi, Randall has done enough to move him. I don't think Obi is pushing him out. I think Randall's attitude, his inconsistency on defense, his emotionality is enough to move on from him, right? But that's very different than saying this player is playing well enough to push this player off the team. Because as you just said, Obi's skill set is limited. Now, if you got an all-star, if you got a Donovan Mitchell, a Brandon Ingram, you got RJ, you got Brunson, you got all of these other scorers, and Obi can play that limited role, totally fine. But you can't just give up. And Randall is flawed. I've said this many times. You can't just give him up to create space for another guy who's limited, because this is what Randall does. As flawed as he is, there's a lot of gravity to his game, so that he draws a lot of attention that makes it easier for the other players. Obi's not going to do that for you. So that means you're going to have to get another player to do it. So, yes, if you
Obi
want,
benefits from that.
right, if you
Obi
want to
benefits.
say,
He
oh,
doesn't benefit from it because he's not on the floor with Randall at
No,
the same
oh,
time.
no. I'm saying he's the type of player that benefits from somebody who draws attention.
correct. That's how he's
Okay.
going to be effective. So if RJ takes the next step, Brunson takes the next step, you trade Randall, you bring in somebody else that has that gravity. Now Obi can excel. Like you said, you got to put him in pick and rolls. You got to play at a faster pace. But hear me out. As a coach, you got to see what's best for the overall team. I got slow plotting players. I got turnover prone players. Are we going to be most effective in a as a fast paced team or a slower paced team? That might help Obi, but does that help the rest of our team? So I'm not gonna put stuff in for a role player. I'm not changing up and then transition, putting in pick and rolls for a role player. Now, that being said, in terms of changing up the whole offense, that being said, it's nothing when Obi is in the game to call some pick and roll sets. Like, that's not changing up the whole offense. So, that's not changing it all up to do some to run some pick and roll sets. But the fact of the matter is Obi is limited. And in order to take advantage of him, you got to change your pace. You got to change your offense. There's a lot of things you got to do for him to really pop. And you got to bring other guys in there that can feed him because he can't create his own shot. So I'm not an Obi hater. I just don't get with his limited skill set how people can feel that he's ready to start
I'll explain to you. I can explain to you.
unless your argument is he just fits better with the rest of the players on the team, then I can get
How, that's a very logical argument because it's not one-on-one basketball. We're playing 5-on-5, and the 5-man unit functions better as a whole with Obi on it. Also, add to that, RJ wants to run, Mitch wants to run, the wings want to run. It's only Randall who wants to hijack the entire offense. What happens when you play Randall? The minutes you play him and you give him the role that he plays in order for him to excel, like he did his second season here, you have to run the offense through him because that's his skill set. He has. I mean, he has a skill set. Let's not get that twisted. I'm not saying Randall's a terrible player, right? And there is a universe where if he clears his mind mentally, he can return back to form. I don't know about being second team all NBA, but he can certainly be an all-star in the East. I just don't think mentally he's ready to accept playing a lesser role in order to help the team excel more. He has Kobe's mentality without Kobe's skill set.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
He just, and that's probably why he's in the NBA and I'm not, because of his mentality.
Right.
But that sometimes it doesn't, it's to his own detriment because he refuses to fail, and his refusal to fail causes turnovers, poor decision making. He's not passing out of the double team quick enough. And he has good intentions, but unless he's ready to accept a team role, and unless he's ready to stop taking the ball down court, he cannot do that, right? What happens is the team goes on a run, whether he's on the court or he's not on the court. If there's 6 plays that he's not necessarily involved in, when the 7th play comes along, he makes it a point to get himself involved in whatever flow is going on. Like I've watched this guy closely, right? So even if it's to the detriment of the team, now that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to go try and score, but like he'll dribble to try and draw the double team in order for him to be the guy to throw the pass to make the assist. When he shouldn't do that, just let the offense flow.
I
And
agree
that's
with everything you're saying, but I think the solution is Brunson. I don't think the solution is Obi. I think the solution is Brunson. And the thing about it, even if you want to get rid of Randall, why does Obi have to be the next person up? Is there somebody out there better than Obi that you can put there? Because when you taking Randall off the team, you're taking off a big chunk. Now, I'm okay with trading him. You're taking off a big chunk, though. Obi's not feeling that at all. That's not going to be his role. So that means RJ is going to have to step up huge. Brunson is going to step up huge. Somebody else on the team is going to have to step up huge, or you're going to have to bring somebody else in to step up huge because that's not Obi's game.
okay. I can agree with that. I don't think that from a statistical number standpoint, Obi's not going to make up 20 and 10 every night when he's given 82 games.
What do you think Obi's
Not just the shooting, the
ceiling
gravity,
is?
all of it. It's not. It's more than just the shooting. Go ahead, Tom.
I just want. What do you think Obi's ceiling is?
I think his ceiling, if I had to give a direct,
Let me say this: a ceiling and a floor. But if you could think of a player comp to fill that in,
I would say his ceiling realistically is prime Sean Marion. I don't see Obi as a number one player. He'll never. I don't see him ever becoming a number one player. Like a lot of people like to say Stoudemire, but Stoudemire was a number one. If not, he was a great number 2. Um, was a franchise player. You know, he his it was there was another level to Stoudemire than Obi. So I would say more like his ceiling is more Sean Marion, and his floor is something like I want to say like maybe a notch below Kenyon Martin.
Mm.
His floor because
See,
you
see,
give him a good point
He's not
guard and
rebounding though in the defense.
and
well no not rebounding and defense. Not,
and that's with
That's
both
what
of
both
those
of those
comps.
guys are.
That's with both of those comps. So
offensively.
Right.
His,
I'll say Stoudemire is probably a better comp for a ceiling because of the defensive questions, if you will. And Stoudemire had a lot of years with Steve Nash before he came here, right?
right,
So by the time he got here, he figured out some of his offensive limitations and got better at those things. So I would put Stoudemire as a better comp just because of the offensive skill set, but we've yet to see Obi play alongside a Steve Nash, and we don't have one this year, so we're not seeing it this year. You know what I mean? But if you
no.
put Obi
Well,
with a Steve Nash, I think you might see a lot more comparisons to Stoudemire than so. But on the flip side, um, this is a high ceiling, and I'm gonna say Larry Nance Jr. Like I don't
Larry
see
Nance Jr. is barely playing.
I, and that's still a high ceiling for him.
Wow.
I mean,
Y'all
I'm
call it
sorry,
you
I'm
think
sorry,
Obi
floor.
ceiling?
I'm,
Ada.
I'm sorry,
Oh, it's
floor.
floor.
I'm sorry, a
Okay,
high
Oh,
floor.
okay.
oh,
I'm sorry, a high floor. I would put Stoudemire as a high ceiling and Larry Nance as a high floor because yeah, he's barely playing right now. I think the same problem with Obi and Larry Nance is it's always going to be about fit with these guys because of their limited skill sets. Like so it's always going to be about who's around these guys to make them re- reach their potential
Right.
than it is with you're not going to give these guys the ball and let them go to work. You're not going to give these guys and say make a play for me. It's going to be about intangibles, or it's going to be about an elite point guard that fits perfectly right next to him to so you could get the best of them.
correct.
And that's why I say that's a high floor and a high ceiling for him that I just named. But
Right. Right.
he could fall well below both of them at the floor and at the ceiling. And I'm sorry,
I
that's
think
just
with I
how I
think with
feel
Jalen
about it.
Brunson, that he's going to maximize his potential. You know, when you look at his play in college, I don't know what his point guard's name was, but his point guard was effective in college. He was a creator. He created a lot for Obi, and Obi actually thanked him when he won the award speech. This is going to be the first time he's playing with an active point guard who's able to find him, you know, still split second. I mean, every game it's at least 5 possessions they miss Obi, at least, you know, and it's just that the point guard play is not as heady as it needs to be. I think Jalen is a more heady point guard. He's not necessarily an elite passer, but he can play off of instincts more than other point guards, right? If a guy cuts, he can instinctively pass it to him. It's
Right.
not like he's going to miss the cutter because he doesn't have that natural instinct in his game, you know,
Right.
as opposed to Alec Burke, who he's not a natural point guard. So he's not going to even quickly, you know, he's not going to see that. If he's open for an alley oop, he's not going to throw the right alley oop pass. It's going to be a little bit low, a little bit behind him, you know, and that happens often. I think, I think Randall and Obi, you know, in a bizarre way, it's almost like nostalgia that we didn't trade for Donovan Mitchell. I know it's probably an unpopular opinion, but I do believe this team deserves a season so we can see what they can do with an actual point guard. I think Randall deserves it. I think Obi deserves it. I think RJ deserves it. You know, even Mitch. Let's see how the team functions. You know, and a lot of times I mean, I look at a team like the Memphis Grizzlies, and I know they have John Morant. He's great, and they have a lot of good players. But I just think that a huge component of their success is the fact that they came up together and they developed naturally together, right? And we're yet to do that. This is literally the first time we're doing this in a long time. And it was a big decision not to relinquish all those assets to get Mitchell. And I'm kind of torn, but I'm all for seeing what this team has to offer as a unit growing together. You know,
This
we're not
is
going to
the
be able to
difference, I
keep.
would say. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, finish.
No, I was going to say we're not going to be able to keep anybody, so we're going to have to eventually make decisions on contracts before the rookie contracts are up and decide who we're going to keep. But you go ahead, please.
The difference between Memphis and us is that Memphis hit on one of their draft picks. When you look at Memphis, you look at Cleveland, you look at Golden State. Golden State was in the doldrums before they finally hit on Curry. That's the difference. You can't just put any young team together and think that they're going to develop into a Golden State or Memphis or Cleveland. You got to have those good pieces. And in my opinion, the players on our team is not at the level. Our young players are not at the level of a Curry was with Memphis, a John Morant is, a Mobley, and Garland in Cleveland. Other than RJ, I'm taking RJ out. So
But you
every
can't take RJ out because I'm comparing RJ to these players that you mentioned, and he's a notch below them. But he's our John Morant. He's our Mobley. He's
but
our
that's not good enough, though. That's the point I'm trying to make. When you're trying to build through the draft, you got to hit. They drafted franchise play. Curry's a franchise player. John Morant is a franchise player. Mobley will be a franchise player. That's the difference. So you
Well,
can build through the draft and have these young players build together, but you got to hit on them. Like,
I
do you
mean,
think we have a franchise player on this team?
I
I
think
do.
RJ
I will
Barrett's a
say,
franchise player. I think he's going to develop into a franchise player.
Then
and I will say, it took Curry some years to become Curry. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it took him years to become Curry, but his rookie season he was better than RJ is now, though.
correct.
You
Was
know,
he? Was he?
yeah, I think he put up 19 points his rookie season in relatively efficient, numbers.
I gotta go back and look
Yeah.
because I don't even remember him being the best rookie. So was the draft class
It,
just
it
that
was it
good?
was no, it was sensationalism. I think he got drafted with Blake,
He
and
had that
Blake was a
ankle
dunker.
injury as well.
Yeah, well, I knew about the injury, and I don't know how many, like, if that, like, how many games he played or what. But I remember, like, Brandon Jennings was in that draft class as well, right? Um,
17 and a half points his
mm,
Was
first year
he?
in the league.
mm.
He
No,
shot
that wasn't the same draft class.
he shot 40 he shot 43.7% from the 3-point line in his first season. Like
Right.
that's five.
It's absurd.
Well,
Like,
okay,
that's
okay,
absurd.
fair enough. What was his game played?
He shot 88.5% from the free throw line. He averaged 17 and a half points, 6 assists,
Mm.
4.5 rebounds.
What was his games played?
Um,
He wasn't injured his rookie season. Probably played like
yeah,
So
60
maybe
something.
so it
He played 80 games.
okay. So
The
maybe
next year
Oh,
he played 74 games. He got injured his third season
third
when he
year.
went
right.
to
Okay.
26 season. But that's all I'm saying. I would be with you. And I've said this before. If we had Detroit's core, if we had OKC's core, if we had these other cores, it goes back to whether how much you believe in our young players. If I had those cores, I'm not trading for nobody. I'm sitting there and I'm letting those guys marinate, bake. I just don't see these particular guys,
Okay.
other than RJ, being that. And I think that's the difference between me and the rest and some of
Okay.
the other
Let
fan
me
base.
So
ask you
let me
this.
ask you a question. Okay, no,
Okay.
go ahead.
No, you get it because I want to see if anybody else is gonna jump in. So go
Okay.
ahead and go ahead.
All right, last question. So with that premise, right, that this team is not quite, they don't have a franchise player, they don't have a cornerstone player. What should be their goal for this season? Because if they don't have a franchise player, they need to obtain one, right?
Well, I think this year they got to just ride it out. They made an attempt to do that. It didn't work out. I think you just have to hold your assets at this point. Now I'm with the rest of the fan base. Stay right here. Let these guys rock until something else comes along. Don't start making any changes, trading off assets if you're not going for a star.
Yeah, but more specifically, are we riding with the young guys, win or loss, or are we inserting a lot of minutes to the Fourniers and the
Absolutely
Randalls?
trying to win. You're
It's
trying to win.
yeah, it's no.
That-
When you say win or lose, that means you living with. They're gonna win or lose with who they feel is the best players. So if a young guy ends up outplaying or earning Fournier's starting spot or Randall's starting spot or you know whoever's starting spot, that's who's gonna play, and then it becomes win or lose. It's not about I'm going with the young guys win or lose.
And that's
You
a
know what I mean?
front office decision. And front office already made that decision. They're not moving off of, well, we'll see in the next few days, before training camp. But let me tell you this. If the Knicks franchise was really all in on the young guys, Randall would have been moved already. Fournier would have been moved already. The draft was a perfect opportunity to double down on the direction you wanted this team to go in. You would have drafted a number 11.
Yep.
You wouldn't have even brought Brunson in. You would have let IQ take that spot.
Yep.
And whatever trade you made for Doran, just so you can get Kemba out, he was an expiring anyway. You make that same trade. You bring Doran in and you don't sign Mitch. If you doubling down on this direction of the young guys, the fact that the Knicks didn't do that makes me believe that's not where they at. They had ample opportunity to go in that direction and they haven't.
Well, I don't necessarily agree because doubling down doesn't mean acquiring three new rookies. It just means focusing on the rookies and the young players that you have now, giving them more opportunity, giving them more minutes. You don't want to have a team
And,
that's
and, and then what
too much
happens
concern.
to Fournier? What happens to Randall? What happens
You
to
You still
well,
got to
you keep
replace
Randall,
take
but
those
you
spots.
move. What from an organizational standpoint, does it make sense to play Fournier more minutes than we're playing Grimes? If we know for a fact, like I mean, we're not re-signing Fournier when his contract's up. We
It
know
depends
this.
on the
we
direction.
just
If
signed
you're
him though?
trying to make
We
the
Yeah,
just signed him,
playoffs,
but we're
still
not going to
going.
re-sign him. We're not going. Are we going to? You think we're going to re-sign this guy in 2 years?
Listen. I can't answer that, but I also can't tell you that we're gonna re-sign Grimes. I can't tell you
I
that definitively.
I'm gonna tell you definitively that we're not going to re-sign Fournier, and that when Fournier's contract is up and the team can use a team option to relinquish his contract,
Mhm.
that Grimes will still be under contract for
You,
if
for
they don't move them.
yeah,
If they
yeah,
don't
you
move
can't.
them.
Yeah, you can't. That's
if,
what I'm
assuming they
saying.
don't move him. But
And
does
so
it make more sense to invest in Grimes, a young player who has basically the same skill set and a better defensive skill set than Fournier? Or does it make sense to keep playing a guy that's 29 years old that you know what he can offer, which is, I mean, he's a good shooter. He's,
I
Listen,
agree with you, but you can't sit him on the bench. You can't
and
have you got to
you
move
have to trade him. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. The
listen,
Knicks,
you guys have valid points, but let's not act like right now today Grimes is better than Fournier.
he's
He
not.
has potential to be better than him. Like
He
and I
averaged
know,
6. I'm a huge
and,
Grimes fan. He averaged 6
yeah,
points
that's what I'm
a game.
saying. I know you hate that word
Who
potential.
averaged more minutes a game?
Fournier had more
So
minutes.
how are we gonna say that Grimes can produce the same production in half the amount of minutes? You
But
can't
what
compare
I'm
the two
trying to
based
say,
on their minutes.
what have you seen in those little bit of minutes that make you think that if you give him more minutes, his production is just going to double and
Double.
triple and quadruple? You saw him in summer league.
He's
You
playing in
see,
summer
you
league
seen
with
his
inferior
efficiency.
teammates.
You seen his
When he's
efficiency.
playing,
He was part of that. What do you mean? He was part of it. Listen,
hold on. Summer league, he averaged 24 points a game in
I
summer league.
understand.
What was so wrong with his summer league?
RJ
Tell you.
efficiency.
Thank you.
It's summer league. It's helter skelter basketball.
Oh my God. All right.
But
All right. All right. I see it. When it comes to, we always want to make excuses for our guys. I'm a
listen,
Grimes fan. The more playing time you get,
does not
for some
guarantee.
people, they're with more volume, their efficiency comes down. And that's what we saw with Grimes. He was taking 9, 10 3-pointers a game, and his efficiency was crap. So, but I don't believe it's going to be like that on the Knicks because his role is going to go down. He's not going to have all those volume shots. It's going to be catch and shoot. He's going to be fine.
Yeah, we're not knocking him. We're
He'll
just
be fine.
pointing out. We're
He'll be
pointing out there's a difference. Like, granted, I think we both, all three of us, agree that we prefer Grimes to start over Fournier. We prefer the Knicks to move on from Fournier, but at the same time, that's us as fans. We're not in that front office. And if they feel like Fournier is the better player, which I feel like he's the better player, he's, you know what I mean. Grimes has potential, but we don't know if he'll ever reach the potential. We don't know if his minutes double, if his numbers will not be the same as when they were 6 minutes per game, as opposed to 12 or whatever the case. He has yet to prove any of that. We
I
know what
feel
we're
you.
getting from Fournier. And I mean, and again, I'm not defending Fournier, but let's not act like in a bad season for him, he ain't just break out single season 3-point record. Like,
Right.
like, like that's history. That's Knicks history in one season, which was relatively a bad season. I expect him to play better next year.
Okay, I'll give you that. Hey,
But it's
listen, I gotta
easy.
run.
Yeah. I
Appreciate you, man.
appreciate you.
Nah, I appreciate y'all letting me in because
Love.
y'all,
Nothing
I'm gonna
but love.
try and be involved a little bit more.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. You're
Always welcome.
welcome.
You're always welcome.
You felt like a residential panelist
Yeah,
up
yeah.
here.
But he makes a good point though. It's the Knicks front office having to decide what's the direction. Oh, now that we didn't get Donovan Mitchell, are we still gonna try to win as many games as we can, try to make the playoffs, or are we falling back and we're gonna get off of these veterans and we just gonna develop our young guys? That's up to the Knicks has to make that decision. In my opinion, I believe that they're going to try to make the playoffs. Right? We shall see.
I think they're always going to try to make the playoffs. I don't think they need to rush into moving Fournier. Like you said, it's never a good thing to move some guy to make room. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's never a good thing. Move the guy to make room, but don't just move the guy as a salary dump or as a, you know what I mean. I gotta give up a first round pick to move this guy. Be smart. Let his value dictate him being moved, as opposed to you moving him
Right.
and you taking away or you devaluing him and not getting the most you can get for him.
Listen,
And that goes for Randall, that goes for Fournier, that goes for Rode, that goes for anybody you move it. Get the most. Don't move them at
right, right, right. And move them because you believe. We got some super chats. We got two super
oh
chats
yes.
before we get out. Move them because you believe. You're not gonna ever know until the player actually starts. But move 28 because you believe from what you've seen in practice and summer league that Grimes is ready. You believe it. That's why you move Fournier. Don't move them to see. To me, I can't get with that. Move them because you believe. Move Randall because you believe Obi is ready. Don't move Randall just to see what Obi could do. This is not a playground. This is an NBA game. But anyway, let's get to the super chats.
Absolutely. This is one of our best shows, Queen. I think they missed
And
us.
coming in, I was like, I don't know. You want
Shout out to the chat too, man.
all right. You got it, or you want me to?
I'll read this one. You got Julian Benjamin. Tibbs, and Tibbs on the hot seat. That's 1, 2, and 3. And I think his honorable mention was Tibbs too. I appreciate you. My thing is, if you're gonna throw Tibbs up there 2 times, I would assume you gotta throw the front office in there, because I think I feel like they're a tandem. I don't think. Oh man, they having a blast out there. They Meek Milling it up. Um, I don't think you could blame one without the other. And I don't think you could blame Tibbs before the front office. That's just my personal opinion. But appreciate the super chat.
And we got
Appreciate the
another
love.
one. This one. Obi showed he fits the team more than Randall, but it's clear he doesn't fit as well. Randall is the better player right now, but I believe Obi can get there if given the opportunity, and that's fair. And that's fair. And again, if you have somebody else that can take Randall's load, then yes, you can start Obi.
Or if it's split,
Right,
if
off the
it's if
split.
it, you know what I mean, split between RJ taking some of it,
Right.
Brunson coming in, filling in some of that. You know what I mean? Maybe whomever off the, you know what I mean, IQ, Grimes,
But it's not just about
Cam.
splitting up his points, it's about his impact, the gravity, the attention that he gets. Somebody else
Well,
would have to draw
well,
that.
it could be split around though. RJ may take the attention. You know what I mean? He may, you know what I mean? Brunson may take up some of that scoring load. Somebody else might have to pick up some of the like. It doesn't all have to come from one person. Is
It
what I'm
doesn't all
saying.
have to come from one person, but you have to have one person that the other team keys on,
Oh yeah,
and that
that part.
opens things up for other people because that's what Randall
Yeah, I
does.
mean that part, but I'm talking about overall production
Right,
because
right, right,
somebody could do that, but we still might be missing his rebounding. You know what I mean?
right,
Somebody might do that, but that's 5 assists we're missing. You,
right.
you, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like so,
yeah.
so
So we need all of it, the
we need
gravity
all of
and
it.
whatever. And again, I'm not adverse to Obi starting, but you don't think you're gonna take away Randall, put Obi in, and because in these limited minutes, well, let me put it this way: just because somebody excels in limited minutes doesn't mean they're gonna excel given 30 minutes a game, 82 games a season. Doesn't mean you're gonna get the same production. They can soar or they can fall because they just can't meet the opportunity, right? It can go both ways. And we have one more super chat.
Brooklyn Butch, move Randall because he's the limited player. He folds in the last 3 minutes of pressure games. That's the limited skill set. He's 50% at the free throw line when under pressure
At
at
the end.
the end.
I mean,
I
that's
mean,
fair, but we don't know what Obi is under pressure either.
and I think he's not the only one that fits in that category of
Mhm.
50% from the free throw line when it counts.
Mhm.
There's another guy that fits that fits that bill.
We're not going to talk about him.
But yeah, I mean, appreciate the super chat for sure, and maybe with Brunson here, he doesn't have to handle that load. Maybe Brunson will decide whether he gets that shot or you know what I mean, puts him in a position where he gets to the line, but it's an end one and not two free throws.
Hmm.
But man, we rocked out. Man. I was like, we gonna do at least an hour. We had 143. The chat was on fire. 300 plus in the chat today. I think this is a great return for the crossover. A couple weeks off,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I missed you guys. I definitely missed you Queen,
Definitely. Same
and
here. Same here.
I'm glad we back on schedule. We gonna have to mix it up though. We need
Yeah, yeah.
we need the rest of the MVK fan to come.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Split
we'll
some
talk
time with
more.
us.
We'll talk more about that. You're absolutely right. Because once the season starts, it's going to be hectic. But I definitely appreciate the chat. I appreciate y'all listening to me. I know y'all don't agree with me all the time, but that's cool. The respect is there. I definitely respect you guys. I respect your takes, and I appreciate y'all, listening to me. And it's okay for us to agree to disagree. We family, and is all love. You know.
And I think that's why it's so great that we do the panels and have multiple people on. You know what I mean? Because even with my show in particular, I can't just come out here and just give my own opinion and you know what I mean. Everybody's not going to agree. I need somebody to combat it. I need somebody to maybe give me a different perspective, and that's the best part about it. You know what I mean? I might not agree with you right now. I might hang up and just start thinking about
But
what
that
you
has
telling
happened to me
Quincy?
a lot because even my takes on the Donovan Mitchell trade, listening to it was Queen's Court, DJ Shuttle really focusing in on Danny Ainge
Haynes, yeah,
really gave me pause and gave me something more to think about. Like if this was any other front office, or even if this was Utah before Danny Ainge got there, would this deal have been done? Right. So
yeah,
he definitely. So I do listen to the other panelists, and I do listen to the chat as well. People in the chat sometimes like, you know what, you know, they're right, and you change. You change your take. As you go along.
absolutely, absolutely. Shout out to DJ Shuttle. Shout out to Sim, the Podfather. Go ahead, Queen. What do you always say? I'm not gonna steal you.
Forever grateful,
There you
Sam.
go.
Forever grateful. And those who haven't already, please support Nothing But Knicks, of course. Support Knicks and Bruises. Shout out to you, Tone, for getting your 1,000 subscribers. I'm 212 subscribers away. So if you haven't
That's right.
subscribed to Dope Soul Sports Talk, please do so. We have our shows every Tuesday, 9 p.m. During the season, I'll be doing post game shows the morning after the Knicks game. So I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna put out a video or if I'm just gonna go live for like 30, 45 minutes in the morning. So
I'm
it's
laughing because when you go, where you go live, you can't control how long, how
I
long you go.
know, but some of them days I gotta get to work.
Okay,
Some of those
okay.
days I gotta get to work.
Priorities.
But I don't know how to put the link in there as a link, so you're gonna have to cut and paste it, you know, um, to support the channel. But I appreciate you guys. I've been, I think, with Nothing But Knicks for, I think it was April of last year or something like that.
Mm.
So maybe a year and a half, and it's been an amazing ride. So yeah,
Hey, and it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Um, sharing the panel with you, sharing the show with you, and you always coming through on Knicks and Bruises. So I got something. I got a show coming up specifically. It's gonna be two shows because I got one for you guys and I got one for the chat. Just appreciation. So look out for those. The chat show will be the giveaway show as well. So I'm gonna have some details on how you win the John Stocks autograph shirt. So yeah, just keep staying in tune and appreciate you guys. Appreciate you, Queen.
yeah.
Um,
One more thing, those who are coming to the opening game against Detroit on, I believe it is October 21st. I think that's the first game. If you haven't already, please sign up. I'm definitely gonna be there, and I'm 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 a beautiful person in public. But when I'm on here and it's time, I gotta give the smoke. I gotta
yeah,
give the smokes. But I'm
uh,
looking forward to meeting you guys at the opening season game.
that's for sure. We need another
Yeah, yeah,
commercial
yeah,
made so
yeah.
we could you know what I mean. Yeah, tickets is going though. Tickets is going. I was talking to Sim earlier. So yeah, definitely go get your tickets. Once we sell out of that, we'll work on expanding it to another section. So or expanding the section. So yeah, hurry up, get the tickets. Queen, as always, I appreciate you. Um, and shout out to the chat. Appreciate you guys. 1,000. I hit that, and I'm just waiting for YouTube to work out the kinks so we get this thing going. Upgrades is coming. Your blackest time, and we out.